Hi friends, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another video here on my YouTube channel. Today we are doing a 5 cards, 1 kit using the Pink and Main All Occasions Crafty Courtyard kit, and as far as I know this is still available, along with some of the supplies are available separately, so I'll have those linked down below. Let's go ahead and jump into it. I did an unboxing before and I'll have that linked down below, but here is our first card. We're going to be making a gatefold card, so in order to do that I have a piece of cardstock that I cut down to 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and I'm going to score it at 2 1/8 on each of the shorter sides. So that's going to give it that gate fold, and then we'll just make sure that we have those scored and that it all lines up perfectly, and it's that easy. I'm going to take some of the cardstock that came in the kit. This is just some of the pattern paper, and I cut this down to 4 inches by 5 1/4, and I'm just going to cut that down to 2 inches so it'll fit perfectly on each of those panels. Before I go any further, I do want to stamp on the inside, so I'm just going to kind of condition that stamp a little bit with the oils on my hands. Ink up the stamp using some Ink on 3 blackout ink. It's just a nice crisp black ink. It's really good for Copic coloring and other things, but it's just a really great crisp black ink as well. Now I need to use some of the dies that came in the kit, and I'm going to cut this out twice, once with some white cardstock that came in the kit, along with one of the pattern papers. So I love that Pink and Main has all those beautiful pattern papers in there because obviously they all match really well. This is one of my favorite kits for matchy-matchy. Like, it is wonderful for that. Michelle does such a great job of not only matching everything, but giving you the tools. So she gives you a little card that has all of the colors that you can use as well, so you can try and pull from your stash also. I am going to take the thanks die that came in this kit, and I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine 4 times. So I want to make this look like it's almost like a chipboard die cut, so I'm cutting this out 4 times, and then the last one I cut out, I'm leaving inside its little cutout, I guess, and then I'm going to take one of the mini Ergo blending brushes along with some traffic cone Simon Hurley Create ink, because I thought this would be really well to make ombre is what I'm doing here. So I'm just blending that across the very bottom of the thanks, and this is why it was necessary to keep it in place. And then I'll just blend it up so it's nice and dark at the bottom and then nice and soft at the top. And then I'll take the 3 that are just the plain orange, and I will glue those together using my reverse tweezers along with some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. This is a great die. This thanks that came in this kit is great because it's kind of thick in some areas, so it's really good for the liquid glue. If it were a little bit thinner, I probably would have run it through one of my Xyron sticker makers. All right, now I'm going to put my ombre ink blended one on the very top, and look at how cool that looks. It's nice and chipboardy, if that's a word. Then I'm going to take the pattern paper that I cut down, and I'm going to line that up on the front because we're ready to start assembling. And I'll just use that same liquid glue to do this, and everything lines up perfectly. I love making gatefold. It's like an easy card to make, and it just gives a little bit of extra, you know. It's like you went the extra mile or something when you really didn't do a whole lot more. I'm going to take the 1 die cut that I used with the pattern paper and cut that right in half. I'm going to kind of line that up with the white one. And then I'll glue just onto this 1/2 the one piece. And then I'm going to glue that only on to the left-hand flap. So I'm only using just that half of this piece, and I'm gluing it down onto the left-hand side. Obviously, if you glued this down all the way, it's going to close it up. You don't want that. So just the left-hand side, and then I'll take this other piece and kind of try to line it up underneath so that it's just a little bit showing on that right-hand side. So when I open it, yes, it'll have a little bit of a you know, I guess a gap, but I like the way this looks all closed. And then I'll take my same liquid glue and adhere down the thanks to the front. It needs a little something extra, so I'll grab the glitter enamel dots that came in the kit, and I'll put a few of those down just using my paper piercer. I'm going to use a lot of these dots for these cards today just because they're perfect for it, and I love when Michelle includes these because I always tend to use them a lot. And then they're great to add to your stash if you decide you've used all the paper and everything. You can move on and use these with other bits because they're just great to have. And then when that's done, that's going to finish off our first card. So we started out with a fun fold kind of card using the gatefold, and I love how that turned out. All right, now we'll move on to our second card, which is actually 2 cards. They're going to be some 4-bar, and those measure, just the piece of cardstock you're going to need is 7 inches by 4 3/4. So that's what a 4-bar would be, and then you're going to just score this at 3.5 inches. So when it's closed, it'll be 3.5 inches by 4 3/4. And they do take smaller envelopes. Those are usually like the little thank yous you might find in the store. But this is a really quick way to make some very easy little note cards. And so I have some pattern paper cut down, and I'm going to leave a bit of that orange showing on the top and the bottom. I've cut down some more, just like a blue strip here. We're going to put that right over this beautiful pattern paper. It almost looks like it's daisies, but I'm not sure what flower it is or if it is a particular flower. But like I said, this is just a really easy way to make several little note cards. Because sometimes when you're looking at an A2 size card, that's a lot to write. And if you don't fill it up on the inside with like extra stamping or whatnot, that can be a little daunting to try and write that much. So 4-bar is great for if you want to make a quick thank you or just a little note. These are fantastic for that. So I'm going to just glue those tops down. And then I have this little die that came in the kit. I'm going to run that through a couple times, and it gives this little rectangle with some stitching around it. So it's got just a neat little finishing element to the rectangle. So I'll do a couple of those, and then I'm going to ink up the sentiment from the stamp set that says just a note. Figured that was perfect, and I'll do it on both of those. And then I'll adhere those down to the front of our 4-bar cards, just using a little bit more liquid glue. And then for a finishing touch, I will grab the enamel dots that came in the kit as well. So again, just loved using those. I think I'm going to grab some of the green is what I do. No, I grab orange. Yep. I figured the orange would really pop with the background color that I used for our card base. And so I'll grab 3, just kind of working in that rule of 3. We've got the big one, the medium sized one, and then the small one, and then I'll do the exact same thing on the other one. And like I said, these were really quick, easy cards. I do want to point out that this kit was given to me as a gift, and I was so grateful to receive it. I love the Pink and Main boxes. They're just wonderful because I do love matchy, and so big old thank you for this gift, and I've been having so much fun with it. All right, let's move on to card number 3. I'm going to make a slim line, so I'm going to use some pixie spray on this. Take that outside. You don't want to do it in a unventilated area. So a slim line card, this card panel is going to measure 3.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and so I'm actually going to take this stencil and I'm going to line it up in the middle. I want to do some ink blending, and this stencil is perfect for it. I'm going to cover those edges just in case I go that far. I'm just using some Heavy tape, but that way it won't go past the stencil. But this is a great stencil for doing this kind of blending, because once I'm done with this color, which this color is some Over the Moon by Simon Hurley Create, just like a nice light yellow color. Once I blend that with my Ergonomic blending brush from Pink and Main, I can just pick up the stencil and I can move it down. I love that when I am able to do that with a stencil, because it gives the stencil that much more life. So I can use it not only on a regular A2 or a 6x6 card, but I can also do it on one of these, like a slimline. So now I'm grabbing some Minty Fresh Simon Hurley Create ink, and I'm going to go blend that down at the bottom and go over the top. The reason I started with the yellow first is actually because that was my lightest color, and I'm just using one of the blending brushes. I don't have one for every color. So I was just cleaning off my brush in between and also cleaning off my stencil in between. And then, like I'm showing you here, you just line it up once everything's clean. And I'm using my Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station. It just kind of holds things in place. Those are big magnets. And then we'll grab our next color, which is that pink, and it's called Prom Queen by Simon Hurley Create. And then I'll blend it at the top. Again, I cleaned off my brush in between because you don't want to not clean off your brush. But that's why I started with the yellow, so it would be a little less work, if you know what I mean. All right, I'm taking some of the yellow cardstock that came in the kit. That was cut down to 7 inches by 8.5 inches, and I'm scoring it at 3.5. So here we have a slimline card. And then I am going to run this like rectangular die through on 3 of the pieces of cardstock, 3 of them that came in the kit. I love that blue one because it has like these little Swiss dots all over it, and so it has nice texture. And then I'll run it over the yellow, which has a nice texture as well. And then keeping that texture in mind, I'm going to stamp the word congratulations on it. So this word fits perfectly on this die cut. I stamped it really well. However, this cardstock does have some texture. So as you can see, it didn't stamp perfectly, and that's fine. I'm just going to bring in a black marker. This is a Memento black marker. And I'm just going to go over some of those letters to make sure that it's colored in nicely. So you can fix that mistake if you have that problem. All right, now I'm going to take those panels that I've die cut and I will glue those down, kind of staggering those, and then I'll glue congratulations over the top of that. And then I'll move on to doing some more with those enamel dots. I just love those. So I tried to pick colors from my stash as far as the inks go that would match the colors from this kit, and so that's why I was able to then grab these enamel dots and kind of stick those over the top of the colors that are underneath, which is fun. I love doing that. So here we've got yellow on yellow, and then we're going to grab that pink and put that over the pink. Just a few. And you know, I always struggle with where to put the enamel dots. I love using them, but I struggle with it because, you know, you really want to try and focus on like where your eye would go, because you want it to be kind of flow. You don't want to just put them randomly, although that looks nice too sometimes. I think I overthink it, to be honest with you. So I think this worked out. It's fine. So now I'm just going to go ahead and glue my panel down to my card base using some more of that Nuvo Deluxe liquid glue. I'm going to leave a little bit of the card base showing on the left and right hand side, and then I do decide to stamp on the inside the sending hugs, but wishing for a real one soon. I think that is such a cute sentiment. And that's going to finish off our third card. Love how that one turned out. All right, now we'll move on to our fourth card. I do want to show you that I used the embossing folder. Follow the instructions on your die cutting machine, but I went ahead and used some pattern paper with that and ran that through. And now I want to rub an ink pad over the top. I love doing this. I think it's fun. So I'm just grabbing that Prom Queen that I used earlier and rubbing it over the part that was embossed. You don't want to use a lot of pressure, just kind of rub it, and then you get this cool effect. I'm going to use some of the purple cardstock that came in the kit, and I just cut that to A2 size, which was 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and scored at 4 1/4. And then I'm going to run this like diamond looking die cut through my die cutting machine, and then grab one of the sentiments that matched up with that. I'll ink that up with my blackout ink by Ink on 3, and then stamp that down. And there you go. I love how everything just kind of works together. Then I'll use some of my liquid glue to adhere down my panel to my card base. You'll notice I don't think I used any foam tape today. It just makes things a little bit easier to mail, and I guess I just didn't think about it. So yeah, I mean, if you want to step it up a notch, you can always use foam tape or something of that nature. All right, going back to those enamel dots, I'm going to grab out the purple ones to tie in the card base to our embellishments, and then I'll put a couple more down below, so then we have 5 total on our card. And I don't stamp anything on the inside, so that's actually going to finish off card number 4. Super happy with how that one turned out too. All right, for card number 5, we're going to combine a couple of techniques. We've got a mini slimline, which that card base is a 6x6 piece. So that means we are going to score it at 3 inches. So once it's closed, it'll be 3 inches by 6 inches. And there are envelopes to match these that you can get online as well. And then I went ahead and cut down some pattern paper to fit that. Not only did we make a mini slimline, but it's going to be a mini slimline shaker card. You knew I had to pull in a shaker. It seems like I always do. I can't help it. So I'm going to run the dies through. There isn't a lot, well, there's no stamping on this card. It's just die cutting and shaker. So I'm going to run this through, and I'm living dangerously. I should tape it down, but I'm just not doing that. So I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine just as is. It makes it a little easier because that background pattern paper, those lines aren't perfectly straight, which is nice. They're kind of like they're brush stroked almost. All right, so to make this a shaker, I'm going to use some acetate. Actually, I use transparency sheets. I'll have those linked down below as well. I have them in bulk, I buy it that way because it's just easier. And then for my shaker, I'm going to use this Heffy foam tape. So it's 3 millimeters deep, and it works perfect for shakers. And then I'm going to grab this other one, which is 5 millimeters, or this one's 12 millimeters, and the other one was 5 millimeters. And then it's 3 millimeters deep, so it's perfect for shakers. I'm going to peel off all of the release paper on these. Sometimes you want like that double thickness. Well, this tape makes it so you don't have to double it up. It's just already doubled. It's perfect. And then I'll pour in, I'm pretty liberal with the sequins. I pour in a good amount of the sequins to put inside there. And then I'll take another piece of acetate just to put on the back of that. It just makes it that much easier to attach down to my card front. And then I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue behind that area. And then we'll just attach that down to our card base. Thankfully, I didn't adhere it all the way down yet. But it'll completely cover that. And then I did cut out the hello, and I'm sticking that on there, and it just looks like it needs a little something more. So I'm going to take just a piece of the pink cardstock that came in the kit. I'm going to run this die cut over the top, like kind of in the middle of this piece. And then I'll take the rectangular piece and go over the top of that and run that through the die cutting machine. I just wanted something, and honestly, I wasn't even just thinking. I just grabbed stuff and started cutting. And then I'm going to stick that over the top. There will be a little bit hanging off the left and right hand side, but I'll just trim that off. It's not a big deal. So that, I felt like that kind of grounded it a little bit more. So we'll use our liquid glue to adhere that piece down to the front. And then once that's on there, I'll flip it over and trim off the excess. And then we'll be ready to adhere down hello. I like mini slimline just because it's different, and you can get some really fun cards out of it. And it just worked out perfect to make this little shaker with it. It already had enough dimension, so I just did one die cut of the word hello. And that's going to finish off card number 5. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at all 5 of the cards that I made for you today. I would love to know which one was your favorite. If you did have a favorite, go ahead and leave that down in the comment section. As I say every time, it really is one of my favorite things about making cards like this. I love hearing which ones you guys like best. And oftentimes I'm surprised. Also, if you wouldn't mind doing me a favor and hitting that like button if you liked this video, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.